professor of quite a distinction, teaching at a couple of places, Montclair and Rutgers as well, advising Greg Schiano on how he can cover a couple of point spreads, and also performing on Scripps TV. We welcome back to the show one of our favorite and a member of the Degenerate Brethren, one of our favorites, the great Len Robbins joins us here on the program. Len, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. You got the intro wrong a little. It's not Rutgers, it's Rikers.
Well, appropriate, I guess, especially with what's going on in the world today.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning. Looks like another beautiful day here in South Florida. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you. The Defo Show. We have Mike Lubitz right there. Lubie, riding shotgun on the show here. And, of course, usually inclined to get into various rants during the course of the program, which I enjoy immensely now. There was a time I used to cringe a little bit, but now I love it. I absolutely want you to. It's Mills Lane. Let's get it on. And there's plenty to cry about, although we had a pretty nice overview and dissection of the status of local teams yesterday.
Yes.
From one Dave Hyde.
Yeah.
It was sobering. I don't know. Did he bring anything to light that we were unaware of? I mean, the general concept seems to be, what? Dolphins in free fall, a disaster. Heat, we don't know what to expect, but we don't expect a whole hell of a lot from the Miami Heat this year. If they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals somehow, that would be remarkable, I think, based on what we're seeing. And just the composure of the lineup itself and what they have coming off the bench. It's not like I love Jaime Jaquez Jr. I liked him at UCLA. Good guy to have coming off the bench, but and sometimes he does ignite that spark that triggers a Heat run coming off the bench when the starters have gotten a little lethargic or aren't as effective, or even when they are playing well. This guy comes in, picks up the pace right where they left off, but not every night, right? I mean, you had the rookie season, and I believe at different times he might have run into that rookie wall because all of a sudden you're going from playing 35 games to 82.
Yep.
Not the easy. And then be ready for the playoffs, which are pretty arduous once you get to the NBA. It's almost like another, what? If you have to win 16 games, let's say it takes you 25 to do it. That's another third of a season. So it's a pretty arduous load to lay on a rookie and have him expected to be carrying the team. Well, we'll get a little test tonight. Will we not, Mike Lubitz, about where your Miami Heat are at? They are 2-point underdogs to the New York Knicks.
Oh, wow. He's played the Knicks already. Okay.
Knicks hosting the Knicks tonight at the Kaseya Center on the Pat Riley Court, the Miami Heat. And the analysis would go something like this, Lubie. Miami, a lousy rebounding team and very poor in terms of allowing second chance opportunities, which are actually converted. So they're giving up a lot of points on second chance opportunities. They're giving up a lot of second chance opportunities. And guess what that is, Lubie? A recipe for disaster.
I was like,
the Knicks happen to be very good at this aspect of things. Now, the Knicks are 1-2, and yet they're favored by a couple of points on the road. Why is that? Because the perception is that they just ran into a scorching hot Boston team on opening night, and there was really little they could do. Came back, they won a game, and then they caught an also smoking hot Cleveland team, which has gotten off to a 4-0 start. I guess, or were they 4-0 before they met the Knicks? Either way, they won their first 4 games.
They're 4-0 now.
4-0 now, and so there was no great disgrace in those 2 losses, even though the Boston game was an ugly blowout and an opportunity for the Knicks to establish that, hey, we're going to be battling you all year long. Mm-hmm. The Heat so far, a couple of wins over Charlotte, not considered to be a great contender. I don't know, is Charlotte a playoff team? They got LaMelo Ball is back in action. He's playing well. But I don't know. Can you name a couple of guys on Charlotte?
They used to have another Bridges. I think they had Miles Bridges. I don't know if they still have him. I can't name anyone else.
I couldn't tell you much about that team except for LaMelo Ball had a couple of decent point totals so far early in the season.
Yeah, he's a good player.
The Heat have been balanced. Jimmy Butler, after that first night 3-point performance, which was putrid, he's come back and been indicative of the kind of Jimmy Butler you would probably need to be a steady force during a regular season, right? 23 points or so. Yes. Last couple of games, not too bad. They lost to Orlando. It was a little bit of a battle in one of their losses. And then Yeah, came back and won the 2 games. Charlotte and the Detroit Pistons, who obviously are not a very good team. And you would have expected them to wipe the floor with the Pistons at home. They struggled into the fourth quarter, but getting balance, right? You got Rozier's playing well. He's getting like 20 points a game. Tyler Hero seems to yet again have adapted to a new role, whatever it is. What is Tyler Hero's new role, Louis? Do we know?
He's starting, so it's definitely more of a role like that he would want. But I think Rozier is the main ball handler, so they're trying to get in his head. And he was talking about this the other day, and I don't know if he was mocking or being honest, but playing off the ball, like, because that was a big thing for him, is possessing the ball. But like, then you sort of lose what Rozier can do. If Rozier can possess the ball, and because Rozier can pass, he's not just a scorer, like, then that maybe can open things up for Butler and Hero when Hawkins is in there. Bam, who hasn't really done much yet. So he and Rozier are supposed to be forming, yes, it's a smallish backcourt, but a backcourt that can be potent because both can score from all three levels. We'll see. I mean, Hero is interesting because he starts the season strong. And then the last few years, he's gotten hurt and things have sort of gone by the wayside. So he shaved his head. It's basketball first. We'll see.
Why was I thinking you were going to say pussy first for some reason? No, I think, does he have a steady girlfriend? I'm not sure. But you could see this guy partying his ass off and thinking that, wow, how much better can life get? Because his college days at Kentucky, I mean, I'm sure he got a boatload of money for going there for, was he there just 1 year or was he there 1 year? Okay.
1 year, yeah.
And he sort of was in the aftermath of that one team that had the 6 first-rounders, right, with Devin Booker and all of these other guys, Karl Anthony Towns. And was Towns on that team, or which was the team where they got like 6 guys drafted in the lottery?
Booker, yeah. Towns was a part of a team that had a bunch. Most of them did nothing, but or maybe a lot of them might have. I don't know. Kentucky's had a lot of guys that I didn't even know went to Kentucky that actually end up being really good in the pros. So that was a loaded team. Then the next team was a team I'm sure that it did okay, but yeah, it wasn't as heralded. And
I mean, Hero's been good. Actually, Hero has probably been a little better than I thought he would be coming out of college.
Oh yeah, it was a top 15 pick. He wasn't a top 5.
Yeah, I mean, he was okay. My big negative with Tyler Hero in college was shooting the college three. He was below 40%, even though he's a long range shooter, supposedly. I mean, when he goes up with these 3-point shots with the Heat, you're thinking, oh, good, Tyler, he's chucking tonight, which is great. But and I would think that his 3-point shooting percentage is higher in the pros than it was even in college. And let's face it, Lubie, anybody that can shoot a basketball from any kind of distance loves the college three. It's not even a challenging shot.
Yeah, it's great.
It's kind of like mid-range. You stretch that out a couple of more feet now out of the corners. The Pro 3 is the same shot as it would be anywhere else. But when you get out to that arc there at the top of the key was one thing, almost like a layup for a shooter. You extend it out 2-3 feet, big differential. 100%. Giant differential, yeah. No doubt about it. So anyway, I used to love it when the Heat and the Knicks got together. We don't get that vibe anymore. We don't have phone participation or anything like that. We do get the chat line here. And you would expect if this was back in the day, if this was 25 years ago, the chat line would be loaded with "fuck the Knicks."
100%.
I used to love that hosting those shows. You don't get that vibe anymore. We haven't had that feeling here since 1969, right? I mean, it's been a long time since any of these rivalries really sort of manifested themselves in a lot of talk around town and where people can collectively communicate. I mean, you don't get this on Facebook where you have Heat and Knick fans arguing or Jet and Dolphin fans saying or calling each other names. Now it's just politics, right? Where somebody posts something that's pro-Trump and I immediately hit the unfriend. No, I don't care. If you're voting for, one way or the other, people say this, but I still, I find the over-exuberant Trump supporters do seem to, hit me with a little bit of a negative tinge, no? Do you find that, Lubie? Even your best of friends?
Yeah, 100%. They are very adversarial, and
they keep coming up with the same stupid thing, right?
Yes, and
this is what bothers me about it. My friend Big Rich, for example, right? Staunch Trump supporter.
A real thing. That's the problem.
He's a military guy. His dad was, in the military and very proud of it. Still wears like one of the World War II hats or something. He's like 90 years old. You would think the last guy on earth he would want to support would be Donald Trump.
Guy that openly doesn't. Okay, whatever. Never mind. I'm not even.
Zero respect. Yeah.
I just.
But, I don't know why. I mean, it actually bothers me. I know not to respond to this shit. Look, we've been doing this. I've taken a zillion calls of a negative variety over the years doing sports talk radio. People calling up and saying, you don't know shit, DeForest. You fucking buried me with that game you gave out last night. What are you going to do, Lubie, right? You shrug it off. I mean, everybody that does this for a living, don't with rare exception, that there's at least some level of sensitivity somewhere. Is that a fair statement, Lubie? Nobody wants to have somebody, say, "Hey, your work sucks," no matter what job you're in. I mean, if you're going to an office and you're doing just some, work that involves paperwork or whatever, or computer work, and the boss comes over and constantly tells you, "Hey, you know what? You fucking suck at this." After a while, it gets to you, doesn't it? I mean, you would like to be viewed, especially as an entertainer or whatever, you would like to be viewed in a favorable light. And nobody is against that. There are those that are thick-skinned enough that they don't care. It's like bring on the hatred. And they realize that it can be a channel to large flowing cash coming your way.
Yes.
Because if you're willing to do this, then, you definitely look at our buddy Sid Rosenberg. I mean, does he really think Hillary Clinton is a fucking cunt? That you would stand up in like Madison Square Garden and say something to that effect, and for first time ever, you're speaking in this kind of a capacity, and that's where you go with it. I mean, is that really the reason to vote for Donald Trump? No. Because Hillary Clinton, in your opinion, is, and I think he called her a fucking bitch, but regardless, why would it even be part of the agenda there? So when you watch that disgrace that took place at Madison Square Garden, where everybody gets up and tells you why they hate the rest of the world that aren't Trump supporters, I would not be proud of that. I wouldn't be hanging that out there as my banner to recognize that Donald Trump is the guy that's going to fix everything that's wrong with this country, because it does seem to me that a lot of what's wrong with it evolved during his presidency. This notion that he fixed the economy, I think is just badly misguided. No,
it's not a think. I mean, it's look, again, they don't want facts because none of them are on their side. So if someone debates facts, then you just leave the conversation. Like I used to do this from 2015 up until 2020 because to me it mattered, and they were not the enemy. Actually, they just were misguided. That's a good word for it, misguided. And I felt my yelling would change them. Of course, it wouldn't. But from 2020 on, I made a promise, and I kept to it, that I don't fight with Republicans. Or they're not really Republicans.
There's no winning. There's no winning.
Yeah. The right-wing contingent on the Republican Party, you're right, there's no winning. And I've learned more and more that they're not the majority. And the minority they are is increasing. The numbers are clearly showing that they are going down. So fine, they want to hunker down and live in a world where facts don't exist, which I don't understand why you'd want that, because then there's nothing to hold on to. Facts are the only thing that keep us centered. Why would you just want lies all over the place? But there are people that miss childhood and want adulthood to be like childhood, where you just stream and wish, and the things you say out loud, no matter how fucking weird they are, people go, "That's nice, Johnny." Yes.
Oh, he didn't really mean that. He didn't mean that they're eating cats and dogs. That was just a figure of speech.
Yes. Yeah. So, like, I don't like that life. I'm a grown adult, and I have a household to take care of, and I need facts. Facts are literally what I thrive on to move from day to fucking day. So I just ignore it. Look, that's the thing. If you want to just be mad all the time, it's weird, because the Republican Party was the party. Remember, it was the Dems that always found what was wrong with America and was trying to make it better. Republicans were the ones that were like the Reagan, the light on a shining hill. And
yeah, everything's great, man, because the rich are getting richer.
We're the best, and we love America. So it's just weird to see that. That's my issue, is the anger, like the red light behind, and the vitriol, and about your own citizens, and the idea that it's not un or Iran that's the enemy, that John
It's enemy
Johnson,
within, my friend. Yeah.
John Johnson living in Nashville, that's my enemy. Okay.
No, it's all nuts. But the answer always is, and I got this. I made the mistake. I got into it.
I just
Big Rich hung a thing about how proud the Republican Party should be, and everybody should be about Donald Trump's Madison Square Garden appearance, which I personally thought was a disgrace. I don't care how many people showed up; it just shows you how many nutbags there are. If ever there was a time to walk out on a thing, it would have been the poor taste that was exhibited there, at the very least, by virtually all of the speakers, none of which were addressed by Trump, who never said anything about what he's actually going to do.
never, not once.
He doesn't have a single policy at this point. He's going to administer tariffs to virtually everything, which
When I
only
left
means that
the
you're going
Dems-
to pay more for whatever you buy.
I love that
I mean,
the Dems are finally the party that is learning to spin things with really catchy phrases. If you notice, they're using this term national sales tax.
Yeah.
It's the tariffs, but no one knows what the fuck it, including the guy saying it. No one knows what the fuck a tariff is. But if you say national sales tax, especially Republicans, they hate taxes, right? So when you say a 20, not even a 5 or 6%, a 20% national sales tax, that scares the living shit out of everyone. So
yeah, that's very effective for sure. And that's essentially what you're doing. I mean, tariffs are paid by the people who buy the product. The country that's being charged a tariff, I mean, those prices are just passed along to you. So you're going to be paying another, what, $5,000 for a car or whatever that is an import. Crazy stuff. But the answer always is, and after all this, and I said something, and I was like, hey, I love you, man. You're a great guy. But Jesus Christ, I mean, if you're proud of that, then there's something wrong with you.
yeah,
You're proud of these people, literally clicking their heels at Madison Square Garden and trashing everybody, people that aren't even involved in the race. And you've got guys getting up and doing 10 minutes about what a fucking bitch this person is, has nothing to do with anything. Then that's it. That literally, it's a disgrace, right? And their answer always is, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And my answer to that is I didn't bother after that because I realized that this is a lunatic
well, he's not going to
here.
answer it right because they don't take 4 years ago. They try to take
I am better off, though. I feel that way because Trump wasn't president for the last 4 years.
Well, if you take literally 4 years ago, we were in prime COVID. Like, they just want to gloss over that. They want to remember the first 2 years that were the Obama years. Obama wasn't lying. The first two, even the Biden years, the first 2 years, which clearly
digging out from underneath the shit that was left behind.
Look, the Obama first 2 years were the Bush's disaster. Like, that's just how you don't walk in the office and instantly it's you. Like, you're cleaning up. It's when you buy a house, right? That's not your house. That's their house that you're doing stuff to make it your house. That's how life works. In a relationship, a lot of the time when you first meet a woman, you're dealing. Believe me, Shirley still has her stuff, but for the first year, she would say crazy shit. Like, not crazy one, but she would say stuff, and I'm like, I didn't even do any of that. I'm like, oh, you're dealing with shit from ex-boyfriends that you're putting on me. That's just what humans do. We go to a restaurant and someone else owned it, right? You're gonna remember what they did for the first 2 or 3 times until they established their place in the world. Like, that's just how it all works, just including presidencies. But they focus on the Obama 2 years. They don't focus on the last 2 years that were a fucking disaster.
Oh, no. I mean, where a guy's lying to you about the largesse of this disease, this COVID-19, because he doesn't want to fuck up his chance of being reelected. So he's telling you it's nothing, even though he knows that's not the truth.
People were dying.
Marginalizing and minimizing what it was that was about to attack the country in a way that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't blame Trump for the pandemic itself. I mean, he didn't bring this thing over here, but he certainly didn't respond well to it. And his main concern was not the people of the United States. It was, hey, if it gets out that this is going to be bad, then I might not get reelected.
Look, Obama said it the other day. Obama's been like the vice president part 2 in this campaign, which I really love, that he's campaigning in a way he hasn't campaigned since he ran. Because he understands the importance of this election. And he said, look, in the middle of all the stuff, and he's gotten real funny and loose, and I love seeing him do that. But he said, the reality is the pandemic was going to be something bad. This was a 100, because he talked about the book that he gave Trump that was very extensive and would have worked really well against COVID. He said, look, no matter what we gave him, if he had actually listened and I just thrown it in the garbage, COVID was going to do damage. COVID was a once in a 100 year.
It was overwhelming,
disease. But if you look at places like Canada and other countries that we are stronger than, and the world looks to us over these countries, they had like 40, did he say 60? They may have had 60% less deaths. 60% is a big fucking, we had over 1 million. So that's 600,000 people less.
Amazing, yeah.
Possibly could. Now, some may have still died.
That died a horrible death, yeah.
Wouldn't that have been worth it? You know, like instead of being stubborn or you're large.
There's a time where you drop the bullshit.
Yes.
And you just have to respond, right? You hate your next door neighbor, and a hurricane comes, and there's a tree through his house. I mean, you don't let the guy just lay there, and maybe you do, but there's a time to just drop the whole division and divisiveness, which Trump is known for and tries to create, and you have to sort of get together, and hopefully that'll happen. Anyway, I hate to say enough on that because it's less than a week away. The election. We'll find out. We'll finally be done with all of this, and we'll see what direction the country decides to go in. And everybody's still saying it's a complete toss-up. This is like heads or tails in overtime. You don't know which team's going to get the ball. We'll see. And all you can do is cross your fingers and hope for the best. And that's what I did last. I mean, when Trump won in 2016, I said, you know what? How much damage can one guy do?
Well,
in 4 years of being president?
he did a lot.
And the real damage was that he's still around. That's really the problem.
Thing is that
he did his thing. I mean, it wasn't anything so special like everybody's trying to point out. And there was a lot of consequence to his actions, no doubt. And then he made an ass of himself with January 6th, of course, and his last how many days as president. I mean, Joe Biden has disappeared. That's fine. At least he's not doing any damage. This guy was doing everything in his power to rankle the public and absolve himself of the fact that he couldn't deal with losing, right? And then he was being voted out, essentially being fired by the people that he thought so admired him. So anyway, what does it have to do with the Heat and the Knicks? Nothing, Lubie. Did the Heat? See, whenever I read like handicap and stuff, I'm thinking the exact opposite is going to happen. I don't know why that is, no matter how logical based it is. And this guy today, Andrew Norton, the handicapper that I was reading, makes a very solid case as to why the Knicks will prevail tonight at the Kaseya Center. So what do you think, Lubie? Would you bet the Miami Heat getting 2 points at home against the New York Knicks, who you despise?
No. I mean, I do despise them, and they are a work in progress. They are better than the Heat, and you like the rebound stats huge. The Heat are horrendous at rebounding.
They're near the bottom of the league, and I mean it's 3 games, but they're near the bottom of the league.
They were bad last year. They were bad the year before.
Yeah,
they've been bad for years now.
They're not graced with tremendous size up front. That's for sure. You're asking Bam Adebayo to do a lot, but even if he has a great game, what's he going to grab? 13, 14 boards. Where are the rest of them going to come from?
Yeah, no. And the Knicks are. What's interesting about the Knicks? And yes, they lost Hartenstein. But Towns is a good rebounder, and they are good. They rebound as a team. Like Brunson gets his.
Yeah. Josh Hart is tough on the boards.
Like they rebound as a team where they don't. And that's the kind of thing that can really screw you, especially early in the year when you're just getting your footing. And if you're a team like the Knicks who are trying to find their footing, that's the kind of, you get a second and third opportunities. And I think the Knicks will win this game, and they'll win it probably easily.
All right. Lubie in a runaway here. It makes me even more inclined to go ahead and take a shot with the Heat. There's a Thursday night football game coming up, and that involves the Jets. Another mystery, as the Jets are favored over the Houston Texans. Texans 6-2, Jets favored by 2 points, which essentially means that the odds makers are making this game somewhat of a toss-up, with the usual accord of 3 points for the home team. Jets 2-6 on a 5-game losing streak. During that span, they're 0-5 against the spread, Lubie. So not a lot of encouragement there. Which theory would you subscribe to? That they're due? I mean, if you look at the Jets offensively, you have Aaron Rodgers, certainly capable. He hasn't been great this year. You have Devontae Adams now with a game under his belt. You still have Garrett Wilson, who they established now that they have Adams on the other side. And you have Breece Hall, right, who is a hell of a running back.
Yes.
How could there be? No offensive line? Is that a problem we're familiar with?
That's an understatement. And they at least tried to address it. They drafted a guy. They brought in guys. They at least tried. Just like Ken's talked about in the past, it's hard to turn a shit offensive line to a great offensive line in an offseason. Like it takes 2 or 3 years. And I don't know if they're going to.
And what's usually available are these older guys that are half busted up.
Yes.
Like an Armstead or some of the guys that we're relying on. They have drafted offensive linemen. The Miami Dolphins very high, right? This Jackson guy, wasn't he like the 15th overall pick or
First round
something?
pick. Yes, he
Yeah.
was.
But it hasn't worked, and that's been the Jets' problem. And if you can't protect the quarterback, you're fucked. So we shall see. A lot of turmoil there. They've already fired their coach. Jets, did they snap out of it? That's a very curious game.
Well, it's because I guess Ken was talking about it with the guys, and I was reading what they were saying. And I guess you're going from Houston to New York, right? It's in New York.
Yes.
It's on a short week. So
and Stephon Diggs is out for the season.
And Diggs isn't playing. So
Yeah.
they account for that. And
the line doesn't seem. I mean, look, the line. I'm looking at it, and I couldn't say with certainty which way to go. Just trying to speculate on that a little bit, but I mean, you have to think at some point the Jets are going to put at least a representative offensive showing together with what they have, and their defense hasn't been terrible.
That's
so. And Houston, in spite of being 6-2, I want to say they've been in a bunch of close games. I didn't look up their actual results yet, but it seems to me every week you're looking at Houston pulling one out of their ass. No. At 6-2, so including last week. So they've been fortunate to win a bunch of close games. The Jets, by all rights, could have a much better record, as you could say about virtually any team, because were it not for the fact that Greg the Leg Zuerlein all of a sudden is kicking a ball like it was Joe Nedney, a normally reliable kicker with tremendous range. I mean, this guy was vaunted as one of the best kickers in the league not that long ago when he was with the Rams. And now,
for the Texans, first week, 1-2.
All close games, right?
Over a Colts team that we know is they beat a Bears team that has a better record than they really are. They're actually one that's not the Parcells. Like, you look at the record, you're like, how the fuck do they have a winning record, the Bears?
Right.
They beat them by less than a touchdown. They beat they beat the Jags, the horrendous Jags that are just waiting to fire their coach, by like 4. Like, they're winning games, but they're just getting by versus.
It's true. A lot of the any NFL result.
Yes,
yeah. Every game seems to be coming down to the final couple of plays. It's amazing how they've been able to do that, where games are decided and even lead changes take place inside the final minute. You'll have a couple of lead changes, which is incredible if you think about it. How they've been able to come up with this. I know they keep saying this. It's cliche now. Hey, Pete Rozelle must be smiling somewhere in heaven.
Yes.
I'm not sure that Pete Rozelle isn't completely consumed by worms and insects by now. Because he checked out years ago. Was he buried or cremated, Rozelle? I want to say he was buried.
What's he buried?
Are you going to? I mean, Jews are not supposed to be cremated, Lubie, but I think that's the only way to go, isn't it?
My grandparents did it. I don't know. My wife wants, I think, to be cremated, and I told her that's not happening.
I definitely don't want a grave. I mean, please,
I know.
People come by and spit on it.
Spit on it.
Yeah. Here lies DeForest, huh? All right, we're going to come back. Yankees won. They extended the World Series. I'm glad about that for a lot of reasons. You hate to see a team just get swept and embarrassed no matter what. Even I guess if you despise the Yankees, it's a favorable result. And there are many people that absolutely, in this city too, I mean, just absolutely despise the Yankees because they're Met fans. Yes. And that seems to go hand in hand. That if you're a big Met fan, usually you hate the Yankees. Me, I'm not one of those Met fans that hated the Yankees, because at one time I was a Yankee fan. So I'm somewhat indifferent as to the outcome of the series. I'd like to see my friend cash that $90,000 ticket. So I wouldn't mind seeing the Dodgers win at all. I have an affinity, as I've mentioned many times, for the Dodger organization, having covered them and gone through some very favorable times, and always appreciated that the way that they treated people. I mean, they really were top notch, first class in that regard. And I would imagine too, people have weird experiences. Did you see this though? Did you see the play where Mookie Betts is making a play on a foul ball in right field?
Yeah, what was that?
And then the guy tries to wrestle the ball out of his glove and tries to take his glove off while the other guy holds his other hand, the other fan. And actually, Trump actually commented on that on X and said that, see, illegal aliens again coming in and making.
He couldn't have done that. They weren't immigrants. They were like New Yorkers.
Didn't these immigrants also get Yankee World Series tickets? No? Wasn't that part of the deal there with a couple of gift cards so they could spend money at the restaurants?
100%. They're treated like first-class citizens. 100%.
Those tickets had to be like in
Thousands. Yeah. What are you talking about?
4 or 5 grand a pop, and
New
these guys
York
get
City.
thrown out in the first or second inning because they're jerk offs. But who does that? I mean, it's one thing to be Bartman and you're reaching for a foul ball. Bartman certainly wasn't deserving of the wrath that he incurred. I mean, it was a normal thing, and I don't think Moises Alou was going to catch that ball anyway.
No.
But this guy, Betts, has the ball in his glove, and they try to wrestle it out of there.
It was fucking weird. I've never seen that. Like, and then he goes to pull it back, and they like double down. You're right. The other dude joins.
The other guy's holding his other hand. Yeah, his right hand.
What are you guys doing? You're on TV. Like it's in the
Kind of fucking stooges. The Fat Joe thing. We didn't talk about that yesterday.
What did he do? My dad like called.
What the hell was that?
Who's this Fat Joe? I'm like, he's a rapper and activist.
When was Fat Joe? I mean, he hasn't been relevant for. I know he's been out there and he's a big sports advocate, and he seems like he's done some good things. Fat Joe, no.
No,
there was a time that you didn't want to say anything negative about Fat Joe because he had tentacles everywhere, kind of like the NFL guys that used to bust the bars for showing out-of-town games.
Yes.
And you're thinking, how many people do they have on the staff here that they could find every bar that's showing an out-of-town game or showing a home game that was supposed to be blacked out? But yeah, I mean, Fat Joe supposedly, like, if you had any kind of negative comment, you might not be feeling so good after that. And that was years ago. I mean,
no,
this was when wasn't he popular when they first started having like MTV's Beach Party or Spring Break?
Late 90s, early 2000s is when Fat Joe was in his prime. He was a big time rapper. He's a big time sports enthusiast. We actually had him on for an hour when we did the Marvin Jones. He joined us from the Newport Beach.
Yeah, no, he seems cool talking about sports. I mean,
but he also, I guess, is doing stuff with healthcare because he was on doing some interview I saw where he's worked with Harris about healthcare, and he's a big proponent of her because of her stances on healthcare and expanding healthcare. But I don't know what he did the other day because my dad called me and I thought he saw him on like.
He did a performance, I guess, of one of his songs.
But he doesn't sing. So they did like a concert before?
No, he came out. I'm not sure. I thought he was going to sing the national anthem. And he did something, I guess, that is from his repertoire of music. And it was very hard to, look at it. And I mean, a Mozart would be rolling over in his grave. It was hard to identify that as any kind of, I mean, what would you say? I mean, it made no sense, whatever the fuck it was that he was doing. He wasn't singing. He wasn't rapping.
I just had my dad call me.
He was out there stomping around on a mound. I was thinking, don't fuck up the mound.
And then I've heard other people like complaining about Fat Joe, and I'm like, what did but no one's shown videos. Like I haven't seen videos, whatever the fuck.
I think he probably would enjoy looking at this because it's very difficult to explain what the thinking was. I mean, of all the entertainers they could have had out there.
From the Bronx, that's a big thing too.
Yeah, he's a big New York guy.
He always like promoted the Bronx, BX Bronx. Like every song he ever did, he always said the Bronx or BX. And
maybe that's what he was doing. I don't know.
He always wore Yankee gear, so I guess he's iconic for the Bronx in a way. Okay. Not every rapper is. I don't know.
They have him just come out and do like a little Bronx cheer or something.
Pitch. Yeah. I mean, he's a big enough dude. He could throw a first pitch. Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they had.
It was really insane. I mean, you're looking at that, and some of the fans were going along with it, and I think many were just as mystified as I was looking at it. I'm thinking, well, geez, I'm an old fart. I just don't get this, but I didn't get it. Let's put it that way. And I thought it was a jinx, the Fat Joe jinx. That was 2 nights ago, right? And then last night was great because first Volpe makes like an horrendous base running mistake where he only gets to third after being on second, and a ball was off the wall and went for a double. And he goes back to the base thinking the ball was going to be caught and can't make it around the home. Yankees were trailing 2-0 at the time. They did eventually plate that run. I don't know if it compromised the inning any further, but stupid play. And then he comes up and hits the grand salami.
Yep.
Which, I mean, that's a great story right there, where here's his kid grew up. His dream was to be the Yankee shortstop. He became the Yankee shortstop like Jeter. And following in the footsteps of this level of greatness, even though they've had a couple of guys now in between. And sure enough, I mean, a giant moment there. As it looked like the Yankees were in jeopardy of getting swept, and he turns the ball game around. Turned out actually that provided the winning run,
Yep, that
as
became the game. Dodgers
they would
didn't
go on to win 11-4. So kept that alive, and in there with a shot tonight, right? Garrett Cole. How many teams have been down 3-0 in World Series play and not gotten swept? Because they keep floating this stat out there that only, I think it was only 4 teams have ever forced a game 5 after being down 3-0.
Jesus.
That seems odd, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's weird.
But they never said out of how many teams
Yeah,
that have
exactly.
been in that situation. So it kind of was a stat that was a little bit empty. And no team that was down 3-0 has ever gotten to a game 6. So maybe that switches. Freddie Freeman, of course, worthy of recognition. Hits a home run. All 4 games so far, and 6 straight World Series games, going back to his days with the Braves with a home run. Talk about Mr. October. That's fucking clutch. That is good. Aaron Judge got a base hit last night, so everybody is euphoric. They're jumping out of their chair on that. How bad was he looking on those breaking balls, Aaron Judge?
It's off.
Oh, my God. I mean, they showed a collage of all of his swings and misses on breaking balls. They were like, why would you throw him anything else except a curve away in the dirt the way that he was going? But he ended up getting a hit in a game and drove in a run, I think. So there's optimism now that the Yankees might be able to come back. I would like to see an extension of the World Series because I dig World Series baseball. So I don't know where you stand on that, Lubie.
I think the Dodgers finish it, but I could see maybe the Yankees extend. I like we said, told Mayo yesterday, I don't see the Yankees come back and winning the series, but I mean, the Dodgers aren't invincible. Their pitching is a major issue. So
suspect, no doubt.
Up, like if you can get the Yankees once upon a time did have a good lineup. It's just you can't really, especially once they got added Chisholm, but you can't trust Jazz or Judge these playoffs. So it's shortened what their lineup could be.
Bottom of the order woke up last night. They were getting zero productivity under the bottom of the order. Maybe Volpe a little bit, but the rest of these guys were absolutely useless. And then when you factor in that Judge was like 0 for 12 or whatever he was 1 for 12 with 7 strikeouts. Not only are you not getting productivity or production out of these guys, but then they're not even putting the ball in play. So, and they've had a lot of base runners. So, by all rights, could just as easily be 2-2 though, Lubie, if Aaron Boone hadn't blown game number 1.
Yeah, they should have won game 1. So
yeah. So you're up 3-2 in the 10th inning. You should be able to wheel out. I guess he had been used earlier. Luke Weaver, but you would want to wheel out your closer, not Nestor Cortez, who then came back for his second appearance in the series and was very good the other night. So who knows? All right, that's baseball. All right, we're coming back with more. We're juxtaposing a couple of things. Tony Segreto is going to join us tomorrow.
Yes.
And there's a reason behind that. Not that he's traveling from Vermont or some of the usual things that happen with Tony in a juxtaposition of days, but he is bringing on a special guest.
A Yankee legend.
Tomorrow, we're going to have Bucky fucking Dent supposedly appearing on the show. Very appropriate, especially if the Yankees keep the series alive. A Yankee hero. Would you put the Bucky Dent homer top 10 postseason homers? Does it belong on that list somewhere between 5 and 10? Bucky Dent, postseason homer.
Oh,
you would have to include
there,
it.
Right? Yeah, it's up there, isn't it? I mean,
there are a lot of home runs that you would have to probably mention first, but not that many. Mazeroski, number 1 in my always will be in my heart.
And then the one, the Giants won the pennant. That one, the Bobby Thompson.
Bobby Thompson, yeah.
And then the Joe Carter one, because it was game 7? It was like a walk-off.
Joe Carter, Kirk Gibson, always going to be known for that. Although that was game 1.
Like some of them, like Yastrzemski's home run was great, but they ended up losing that series. So like, to make it really, really on another level, you would want it to be a home run that won a series or won a game that eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get any more climactic than the final at bat in the World Series of Game 7. And you clear the fence there, as Mazeroski did at Forbes Field and saved my life. As a 9-year-old DeForest was about to. I was literally halfway out of town, Lubie. I would have never been able to pay off those debts. What the fuck was I thinking? Where was I going to find $15 at 9 years old in Brooklyn in 1960? Are you kidding me? That would be like
thousands
having $1,500 in your pocket as a 9-year-old. We weren't stealing things or anything like that. Although, the temptation was always there. All right, we're coming back with more. So we'll have Tony Segredo with Bucky Dent. That's the theory tomorrow, along with a trivia challenge.
Yes.
Little doubleheader action.
Yes.
And looking forward to that. So that should be a lot of fun. All right, we'll come back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:42. Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by asleep, to say we end the heartache and 1,000 natural shocks.
What could that have been about, except
Gambling.
to hedge or not to hedge?
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Luvie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
Had some college football action last night. What happened to our connection with Mike McIntyre? Mike McIntyre, head coach FIU.
He's probably
They've been getting buried, but they won last night. They were 2-6, now 3-6.
hot seat, so those coaches don't tend to do interviews.
3-6. I mean, this isn't overwhelmingly favorable. This was a guy I was rooting for. Is it impossible to win? Is it impossible to have a winning record? What,
I don't know.
What do you have to do?
Butch did it one year. I don't know. I feel for these programs because we always hear
Did
about
Cristobal have a winning record when he was at any season? When he was at FIU? I want to say yes.
He didn't leave with it, but the one year he did. Remember when he had T.Y. Hilton, who was a 4-star that was supposed to go to UF, and then he found to get him to go to FIU, showing the recruiting chops early, before he even went to Alabama. I remember having a decent because we used to air their games, and I remember them having at least one year that was pretty decent. But I think the last 2 years were a fucking disaster, and then he had some sort of maybe not recruiting violations, but recruiting rumors, and it just ended very, very poorly.
Is it just a stonewall situation here? And is FAU in the same category?
I don't know, because again, we've seen some success at FAU, but no one seemed to be able to sustain it. So I don't. It's weird because you see, we are in Florida, right? Everyone talks about
the fertile recruiting ground.
The 12th, the 15th guy, everyone's recruiting it, but it doesn't matter. The random guy that's out of. But it doesn't seem to work for those two programs. So
and it's especially difficult now because if you do recruit a guy and you fight off all of the other competitors, and you get a guy that maybe is not first tier South Florida recruit, but close, at least a guy that would be in consideration by more significant, let's say, I don't know, I don't want to say it that way, but more powerful programs. And more well-known programs. I mean, if you have a chance to be a starting running back at Georgia, and you're a Florida recruit, and all of a sudden Tom Herman comes and says, "Hey, wouldn't you like to just stay home and go to FAU?" You're probably going to the bigger school. I mean, you're eventual goal is likely to maybe be a pro if you're at that level in
Yes.
high school. So you would have to at least want to take a shot or give yourself the best chance to get there. But with the transfer portal now, it's especially difficult for and we talked to Tom Herman about that. Where I mean, how do you keep a guy?
That's the problem. Is if
You
they
you
do
you
just-
battle your ass off to recruit a kid. You finally get him. He signs with you. He plays as a freshman. He looks good, and the next thing you know, he's getting him a couple of $1 million to go to Kentucky or some other school. I mean, whether you're talking about football or basketball,
yes.
it's got to be rough. I don't know that FAU will ever duplicate or come close to duplicating a Final Four appearance. So what do you think? Is that
Oh God, I mean, especially the NIL was just starting when they did it, and they got a lot of transfers and worked in their favor. Look, it levels the playing field in a certain sense. Like you're seeing some of these other programs have opportunities that they may have not before, and you see a lot more like if you even look at college football, like no one's just blowing teams away.
No.
Oregon starting to now, but like we've seen a lot of close games from lesser teams. Look at Arkansas. Yeah, they're not winning every week, but they fight like hell, and they're making things tough. And you're seeing that across the country. If you look at the Big 12, or whatever the fuck.
Whatever it is, yeah, it's okay not to know conferences anymore.
Still the Big 12.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot. Iowa State's come back after 2 or 3 really bad years with Matt Campbell sort of getting questioned, and now they're a top 10. Like, so transfers are definitely helping in that regard. I just don't know if you're like less than a G5. Like, I don't know what you can do with it because you're getting picked off more than you're gaining at this point.
Yeah, I mean, not that many, unless you said, hey, listen, you can start here for a year, and the next thing you know, the pro scouts all come out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But FIU appears to be a bit of a hopeless situation. This guy, McIntyre, I was very inspired by him.
I like the guy.
I really like the guy. He had done a good job. He had sort of turned around Colorado, and then they fell apart. But, he was there before Dion.
Yes, yeah.
And had some measure of success in the beginning, and obviously was attracting some attention, but ended up getting canned and ends up at FIU. When he came on, I've told you this a few times, and we said it many times on the show in introducing this man. He was, I mean, as opposed to the usual press conference where the guy makes a bunch of promises and says, well, you know what, within 3 years, we're going to be a winning program. And you're looking at the poor guy and saying, Jesus Christ, they may as well just give you a blindfold and a less drag on a cigarette. This is the end of your fucking career. But this McIntyre, I thought he was so enthusiastic and inspirational that I figured maybe he was going to do some good, but it hasn't happened. He's 4-8, 4-8, and 3-6, making me, really wonder if that's just not an impossible situation at this point. Butch Davis was there; he couldn't be a better recruiter.
Yeah.
And he's a good enough coach to and experienced enough coach after his stint at North Carolina, and he was in the pros, coached the University of Miami. You would have to figure that he at least had enough coaching acumen at that point of his career to be on a level of anybody else that was coaching in the conference for the most part. He wasn't going to be badly overmatched as a head coach coaching at FIU. Is that logical?
He shouldn't have been, but I mean,
it's one thing you run into Nick fucking Saban and he's got Alabama. Yeah. And your University of Miami team has talent, but you're going to get out coached by this guy no matter what. Because he has A, better players, and B, he's probably a better game day coach by far. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that was so much of the problem. And this McIntyre must be a decent game day coach based on his track record in the past, but impossible, huh, Lubie? You hate to see an impossible situation.
Well, the one, look, and
FIU basketball you never hear of.
No. I mean, I think they've been to a tournament or whatever, but they don't do much. Herman's the one. Look, McIntyre, we like. I think he's a lot of fun to talk to, and I had
he's a good guy. Yeah,
and was hoping for the best. But it's not like he's had a strong track record. He got the Colorado job a long time ago, and he sort of meandered. He went to the NFL. He was an assistant coach, and that's fine. So, like, I had some questions. Herman's the one that sort of makes me sad because if anyone could do it, it was him. He's a guy that literally was, before Ryan Day, it was Tom Herman at Ohio State, and he was a big deal there. Then he goes to Houston and actually does big things recruiting wise, bringing in a 5-star Ned Oliver. And they literally went the year that Lamar Jackson was great. They beat them, and they beat them soundly. He goes and beats FSU in a big bowl. He then gets the Texas job, gets a boatload of money, has a lot of injury issues, and they still weren't bad. They just weren't doing what they're doing now under Sark. but he's a guy that really knows the game, had gotten big jobs, has been able to recruit. He was a recruiter and could recruit Florida and the South in the Midwest. So I was like, okay, if anyone can find a way to meander this, and he's a younger dude, so we've seen the younger guys get the new world, or better at it than the older guys who are just saying fucking and hanging it up. A lot of them, like he was the one I had faith that could make FAU at least what Kiffin did. They're 2-5 this year, and anytime I watch
and some ugly losses. I'm just trying to track their record.
They're just not good. So it's like, and again, it's only year 2. I mean, they're not going to fire Tom Herman as of now. But the thing for him, it felt like he was going to go get another big job. I mean, you got to at least win a little here before they come a calling for you somewhere else. And that's the thing that sort of sucks. And he was very raw and very honest when we talked with him. I mean, it was heading into year 2, and you would think you want to talk about people being honest. Mike McIntyre was pretty honest in his introductory press conference. Our conversation with Tom Herman was very honest. Like he wasn't.
He was great.
Praising shit. He wasn't doing, well, it's another year. He was very, I don't want to say defeatist, but he was very to the point and candid and saying, look, it's just tough because even if you do get a player, look, we had a guy last year who was a fucking All-American. We almost knew we had no shot. Like he was gone before the season. Like by the time the season ended, he was already picked up. And it's like, there's the course for programs like ours to succeed is sort of been blocked in a way that before, where it was not easy, it still could sort of exist. Now it's almost impossible for a lot of these programs to find their way. And that's what makes me sad. Mike McIntyre, I had questions about. I like the guy. I want him to succeed, but I was curious. It was like, all right, he's a guy people sort of heard of, maybe. Herman, I really felt, okay, he'll be here 2 years, he'll be gone. Like, I really thought Herman was going to fucking do work.
You would think that he might have, struck a little bit of gold like Lane Kiffin did. Because he was a young guy that had accomplished a lot, and if he comes in here and shows some kind of results, but I mean, they're getting hammered, and if you think about that, the erosion of what's happened now. I mean, these kind of programs that used to aspire to maybe be at that high level, or at least some semblance of it, now are resigned to just getting crushed by teams that aren't even big time commodities in college football. Where you're getting annihilated by UConn.
That's
it's insane, right?
It's not good teams. They're struggling against.
And that's not going to attract fans. I mean, when you're losing 48-14 to UConn, and you're trying to sell out like this, whatever it is, 35,000 seat stadium, which I've been there. I mean, it is nice. It's a good place to go if you're catching. You can't believe you're watching what is supposedly big time college football in a place like that. It's great, but. Nonetheless, I mean, eventually people are just going to get tired of watching your team get shellacked.
Yes.
So you're dealing with friends and family now, and maybe some alumni and a couple of students, and you're just hemorrhaging money to run the program. So, I it's unfortunate, but I don't think this dynamic can be fixed. What do they do? As long as you're going to allow people to be recruited openly while they're on another team.
Yeah, they need to set rule. I mean, the fact that that's come out where like you're hearing that, like, well, it's always weird. Like the guys will say they're in the portal, and then that day already out of school. It's like, okay, they were being recruited. Like that's not supposed to be happening, and that's open. I mean, they're not even being subtle about it. That's out in the open. That schools are like calling quarterbacks. Hey, I mean, come on, really? Like you don't want to.
What are you doing there? Yeah, Louisiana Tech. Could be here at Clemson.
Like they have to. They look, and even Ken and I, we're all for people getting paid and the kids being treated like employees.
Oh no, I'm long overdue.
But there still are rules for everything. Like the NFL has rules. Like they need to have rules. The transfer portal they need to tighten up on. The NIL they need to tighten it up. They need to have specific periods and specific ordinances, and they do need a governing body, not the fucking NCAA, because the NCAA has no power over it.
Why does the NCAA exist at all anymore? I mean, a lot of people would have said that, from the outset. It's kind of like I was talking to, I did an interview show with Brad Jacobs yesterday, and, you're talking about, well, what is the value of these organizations? Where the corruption it's more evident than it would be in the next Trump administration. And you're asking yourself, how is it possible that the regulating body, not only, I mean, is thoroughly corrupt, but and imbalanced, but at this point, I mean, why would you even pay any attention to what was going on with the dumb NCAA? I mean, they would appear to have no governing power over what's going on in college sports. So anyway, yeah, I mean, does it change anything, Lubie? It's unfortunate that you can't even give rise for hope if you're following some programs, here or two in town that they've always sort of been on the fringe.
Yeah, yeah.
But Miami, University of Miami got all the attention, and we always had a consciousness, being in the media of saying, hey, well, you shouldn't completely ignore these other teams. And I think, we were seen in somewhat of a favorable light. That's why they always were willing to do us favors and throw us, coaches or whatever. We ended up having a nice relationship with both FIU and FAU. But, I mean, you're essentially just leading people to the edge of the pier there to dive in with cement shoes on, right? Because there's nothing overwhelmingly positive that can happen except for this rare fluke where FAU's basketball team went to the Final Four. Now, a basketball team, too, obviously a lot easier to put together because one guy can change the dynamic of the entire.
Well, especially since if you can get a couple veteran like guards, we've seen that really propel a team. And look, you've seen in basketball, even in the NIL era, smaller schools make a move because again, it's an open tournament, and that seems to and it's a one and done, so it levels the playing field a little. But I'm curious if that continues. Like, I feel like whether it's basketball or football, the NIL, it's leveling the playing field at the top in the sense that the powers aren't just running away anymore. Like USC has a ton of money. They should be just killing it, right? With a Lincoln Riley. They're not. So just having a ton of money at the top doesn't mean you're going to just win. We're saying that if you can work the portal right, you can pull a season out of your ass, fine. But I do think it's ruining the low levels. Like I do think the low levels that once in a while could have some fun, a Houston, seeing a Toledo, a Tulane, even a Cincinnati before they moved to the Big 12. Like these schools, or maybe Cincinnati's still in the conference, but either way, like once in a while they jump on the scene. I feel like we're seeing less of that. Like it just.
Yeah, you hate to deem a situation as being relatively hopeless, which that's what it appears. I mean, if you're looking at these last 3 years here under McIntyre, he's been unable to move the needle in any direction. But I mean, it's pinned right there in the red, where you're looking at winning 33% of your games every year. That's nothing to get too excited about. It's not like they're playing all of the collegiate heavyweights either. So unfortunate that's the way it's going because there's some good people involved in these programs, and then subsequently they tend to get like zero attention. Is it good enough to be on like what is it, CBS Sports Network once in a blue moon? I mean, is that
they're on TV? You can every FAU or FIU game's on a TV channel.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
It's just they're losing every time we turn it on.
I mean, FAU. We love Tom Herman from the
I've tried
times
to
that
watch
we've
them,
dealt
man.
with him.
I feel bad.
They're getting hammered. I mean, except for that Michigan State game where they covered the spread. And he came on before that game and said, "Don't worry, we're going to cover this point spread." Lubie pointed a finger right at you. Said, "Fear not," and they did. And you thought, "Okay, good. This is a good omen and a forebearer for good things to come." And then you're looking at these results, and it's like 48-14, 35-0. Unbelievable hammer jobs that they've been facing all year long. All right, Breeders' Cup coming up this weekend.
Nice.
The boys, Evan and Jersey Kyle, off to California as we speak. Yeah.
Good for them. Okay.
Heading out there. So I don't know if we can connect. And I got Jersey Kyle to figure out how to do video on his phone.
Oh, we should have him tomorrow.
We may have to have him drop in on Friday.
Friday. I keep thinking
backstretch at Delmar. That would be good.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, so we'll get some kind of a preview there. I couldn't tell you anything. People asked me. I was supposed to go on a show on Saturday with a couple of guys that do a horse racing show, and I can tell I know nothing. I mean, about what's happening now. You can become a quick study, right? I'm going to bet all the European horses on the grass. And what? Who's gonna be hot? Iran Ortiz. I mean, there's certain logical elements that you can track and probably come out of it looking like you know something. But I couldn't tell you much of anything. Torpedo Anna, going to be tough, I would think. Not going in the classic there, even though she might be capable. So we'll get into it, though. We'll get some real insight into it later on in the week.
Cool.
Hopefully it helps. Because it is a great chance to make a score.
Yeah, there you go.
Breeders' Cup is like having, in some ways, 3 or 4 derbies in the same day in terms of betting options, right? You're getting a horse that just won 5 straight stakes races in 3 different countries, and he's 20-1.
That's
Yeah, so you're getting some nice opportunities there if you can sniff out the proper results. All right, we will see you guys tomorrow. Bucky fucking Dent going to join us.
Yeah.
And is it Anthony Brown that's posting about he wants to ask a question?
Storm.
Yeah, just pop it up on the chat line tomorrow, and
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and forward that question to Bucky Dent when he's on the show with us if we get a
100%.
chance. Yeah, and Lubie, we'll see you. What's the name of this place today?
We're at
Mayo's
Camille.
Lunchbox.
We're at Camille. It's a mom and pop, and looking forward to having both the husband and the wife on the show today. Talk about Camille's restaurant. It's a newer place off in Oakland Park. I guess it's Oakland Park a place. Oakland Park.
Oakland Park. Yeah. All right. Very good, Lubie, and that's 1 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll see you there. All right. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest tomorrow. Bucky fucking Dent. Also Tony Secreto, Old School. And we will have a trivia challenge with Dave Gurgles Gurgler. Wow. All in one day.
Busy day.
Yeah, that's entertainment, Lubie. That's all. That's all we can be asked to do, right? Somebody had dug up an article from my unfortunate flap with the federal government and a certain Indian or Native American tribe. And he said, you know what you said at the end of this thing? Because there was some article about my redemption or whatever. I don't know what the hell it was. He said he dug it up, and he said that the last line in the thing is, "Hey, in the end, I'm just an entertainer, and that's all you are, right?"
That's the idea.
So hopefully that'll be enough entertainment for one day. All right, we'll see you later on. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. See you next time as we leave you now that
The time.
it's 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.